Okay, so I believe we're live. What's happening, everyone? Hope you all had a good weekend. Happy belated Father's Day to all my dads out there. Right away, so I'm going to start off today with a couple of announcements to come a little bit more prepared. So check this out. This week, I'm going to be doing these live sessions every day. So I'm going to be here with you guys every day from 7 p.m. until 8 p.m. Now, while people are getting logged on and getting, ready to get in, we'll probably have some people coming a little bit late. I'm going to start each session off with some of the questions you email me. Again, that's going to be rewarding for those of you that are in advance, and also ensuring that I get to your questions without having this dead air. So if you want to send me your questions, hit me up at mike@wholesalingwithmike.com. Previously, I told you guys mike@investingwithmike.com. I'm trying to save that email address for my buyers. That's how I communicate with those guys. So again, that's mike@wholesalingwithmike.com. Throw the subject line Q&A in there for me. Also, just a little bit what I'm up to. Just so you guys know, I got a program coming out. I mentioned it before. This is going to be what I'm seeing a lot of questions, a lot of stuff coming in is about how to get deals. So I'm doing a program focused specifically on that. It's going to be a lot of sales training, calls, negotiating strategies, and then I'm going to have all of my scripts. So look out for that. That's going to be there in a little bit. Also, and then as a little side project, guys, I'm actually starting a new YouTube channel just because I've kind of really enjoyed this process, figuring this out the last year or so. But it's going to be more of a lifestyle channel. So I'm just throwing that out there. I'll give you more details on that when it drops. I'm thinking maybe the next month or so. So while everyone's getting signed in, I just want to get started with a couple of questions that I got. The first ones I got from a couple of different people. So kind of paraphrasing here. So the first one we're going to start off, how do I make the seller take a low offer? And here, guys, this is where the mindset is completely incorrect. You are never going to get someone to take a low offer who is not motivated. So the point of wholesaling, yes, we're buying properties at below market value and then reselling them for profit, but you're not trying to make people take a low offer, right? Instead, it's more like this analogy of mining for gold, right? So when you're mining for gold, you're searching through rocks and dirt and a whole bunch of shit, but you're not trying to turn that junk and garbage into the gold. Rather, you know that the gold is there and you're sifting through all the junk, all the stuff that is not a deal in order to find the deal, right? So that's kind of a very subtle thing, but you guys, and that's why volume and moving with speed is so important. If something's not a deal, it's just not a deal. You got to be content to just move forward and get on to the next thing. That said, make sure you're in an area that it makes sense where you know that there is demand. So one of the first exercises I have my students do in the program is to do some target market research. Guys, I got some videos on my channel right now. You should go back and watch those. I very much recommend, especially in the beginning, going very narrow and going deep as opposed to going shallow and wide. And again, that's right back to the gold analogy. You could dig 2 feet across the entire country, cover a shitload of ground, but you're not going to find anything. But then if you do the research and say, hey, I see that this person found gold here, and it makes sense. There's this cave, or obviously I don't know about the gold industry, but my point is when you do the research and they're in the right place, then you can feel confident really digging and going deep. So definitely do your target market research and recognize that, again, our business model is more or less like a pawn shop, right? If somebody comes into a pawn shop, and they're not motivated, they're not going to take, 50% of whatever they have to offer. But the fact that person's in there, number one, you probably have some level of motivation. And number two, if they're highly motivated, they will take that low offer, even if they don't want to, because they have to. All right. Next question. This is from Vernon. Vernon's actually a student of mine. Brother, you got a bunch of questions in here. Some of them are a little bit specific to you, and we need to catch up anyway. So I'm just going to answer maybe 1 or 2 of these that I think is applicable to everyone, and then I will hit you up. I'll respond to your email, and then we need to catch up on the phone as well. So first question here, what contingencies should we be putting on the contracts so we won't be asking for it later? I know where this question is coming from. We were working on some deals, and if I remember, one of them in particular was the inspection period. Now, guys, you got to realize there's an inverse relationship between the contingencies. Essentially, what are you asking for? So I'll buy your property if it meets this condition, or these conditions, right? And your acceptance rate. And then also that has to do with demand. So again, if you're dealing with a very motivated seller and you're direct, you're maybe the only person you're talking to, you can ask for a lot more. So for example, you can ask for a very long inspection period. It's something, let's say some of our MLS listed properties is going to be more competition. It's a little bit harder to get more contingencies, right? So again, there's that inverse relationship. Like I said last time, I talk about asking for a non-assignable contract. People are like, why do you do that? Well, simply because it gives me a better chance of getting my deal accepted. So back to this question, one of the things I would start off with is saying, hey, the mindset is a little bit off because you're worried about basically how can I get this right? So I don't have to go back and ask for more things later. And I would say, don't worry about that right now. Like I always say, guys, get the contract accepted first. So especially if you're dealing with very, very high demand properties or in a high demand market or something like that, you want to make sure you're getting your contract accepted first. Because otherwise you can't do anything, right? So, and then you can go and ask for it later. So it's basically taking baby steps. And also, if you're trying to get all this stuff right from the beginning, you are more or less going to be overthinking all of your offers. It's going to take too much. It's just too much effort. It's heavy. Like you just so attached to the outcomes. When you're negotiating, you feel like, oh, I can't lose this one. And that translates, whether it's physically or how you're speaking to the seller or whatever, or even just your mental attitude. So really you want to be kind of baby stepping this thing. So for example, right, if you submit a contract with a 14-day inspection period, the seller is not tied to you in any way, shape, or form. So they might just say, shit, like I don't want to tie my property up for 2 weeks. So no, I'm not going to accept this contract, right? Whereas if you maybe make a 7-day inspection period, that's pretty reasonable. Sellers will probably take it. Let's say they take it, and then you find on the 5th day or something, like I have interest. I have some buyers that are going in there. They seem interested, but at the same time, they are not committing. They're not putting up that earnest, giving me the green light, right? Much easier at that point to go back to the seller and say, hey, I was out of town. Hey, my partner was out of town. Hey, whatever it is, I may need to get my GC in there, whatever. I need an additional, 5 days. And then it's much easier to kind of baby step that to add contingencies into your contract once you're already in contract, as opposed to trying to get it all right from the beginning. So this is something I've kind of talked about before. And yeah, like basically the point is, I just kind of baby step these things along. And I kind of bring this back to psychology too. It's like when people make a decision, right? So let's go back to our example, right? So if you have a property, maybe it's worth 100,000, or the seller's asking 100,000, right? And you offer 70, they might not be ready to take that 70. So they might just say no. But let's say you say, okay, I'm going to ask for 80. And then let's just say they say yes, right? At that point, any worries, the problem of solving a property, having to advertise it, worrying, will it sell, worrying, will I get an offer, all that stuff is more or less solved in that seller's mind. They're already mentally spending that money. And then back to the psychology piece, it's like, as human beings, once we make a decision, we more or less try to justify after the fact. We don't like to be wrong, right? So at that point, they're already committed to you. Now you guys are in a contract. They feel like they problem solved, all that stuff. So it's much easier now, let's say a week later, if you need to go back and ask for something else, they decided to go with you. They felt the relief and the pressure. It's just a pain in the ass to go back and say, man, I got to start this whole process all over again. I got to go back and work with this buyer all over again. I got to be showing this house again. I don't know if the next person is going to contract and then they need more contingencies. And it's much easier, like I'm saying, once you're already in contract, to just go through. So don't be afraid of asking for additional things once you're already under contract. I think of all that shit I just said, the takeaway here is negotiations do not end when you guys both sign the contract. They more or less, a lot of times they start there, right? But again, getting the contracts got to be first. All right, so I got a couple more questions. Let me just check in because I've been monologuing random I'm sorry, ranting. And so I just want to check in, see who's here, say what's up, everyone. Make sure you guys can hear me. Let's do some waving back. What's up, everybody? And see if you guys got some questions. Start hitting me up live and let me talk to you guys. And then if there's any lulls in it, I'll go back to some of the email stuff if that sounds good. So what's up? What's up, Chris, Anthony, Mark? Appreciate you guys being on here. Renee, hi. What's up? Omar, 10X, baby. What's going on, man? Appreciate you guys being here and kicking it. Like I said, for those of you who might have missed it, I will be here with you every day, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. this week, Monday through Friday. So let's take advantage. Let's do some things, right? All right. So somebody says they can't see. And by the way, if you guys want to check the YouTube channel, I'm using the mic, so you probably get a little bit better, better audio with that. All right. So I'm going to hit up the next question from, let's see. Hang on 1 second. Chea, if I'm saying your name correctly, basically asking me how to get started with no experience and what my first experience was like. I can talk about this for a very long time. As you guys know, I can easily go on this topic for, you know, a good hour. What I would say is check out the webinar replay of the last one I did. That's going to walk you through exactly how I did my first deal. And that was literally not even a penny. You could catch the replay. Go to www.needmotivatedsellers.com. First step, you download my free ebook, 41 Ways to Find Motivated Sellers Fast as Hell. Peep that, read the whole thing. Let me know if you have questions about that stuff. But then after you download that, you get to watch the webinar, and I will kind of explains a lot of that. And also, this question I get a lot. So I think if I do another webinar, I'll definitely make that the topic. I kind of like this format here because it's live and I don't have to make PowerPoint slides and stuff like that. But if I do, you know, do the next webinar, I'll definitely do that as a topic. But for now, go check that replay. I think you're going to get a lot of really good information from that. All right, so let's go. Let's take one more here. David's got a question about Hubzu. So Mike, I've had deal after deal fall apart on Hubzu because they're so adamant about sending the EMD, that's earnest money deposit, within 48 hours to sign the contract. I've stalled and delayed as much as possible. It's still not good enough time to do inspections, get contract and repair cost estimates, and find a buyer, given that they don't allow for an inspection period, which is true. What's the secret? What am I doing wrong? Will Hubzu accept a promissory note? How can I buy more time so that my buyer's non-refundable deposit funds the EMD requirement? All right, so guys, I'll tell you this about Hubzu, right? So the video that I have on my YouTube channel, if you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. It teaches you how to do deals on Hubzu. Hubzu is a really cool source of deals just because it's so, like, anybody can get in there, right? If you need proof of funds, they'll take one of the free ones that you can find online that I have another video about. And then there's very low barriers to entry, meaning you sign on the website, you sign up, and you can just do, you know, make offers. Now, I used to like Hubzu a lot more because they weren't asking for your personal information. And if you got your account banned by doing too many offers and then not following through, you can just have a new email address and make a new account and just do it all over, right? You can't do that now because now you have to sign up like your social security number and all that good stuff. And then basically the way a lot of Hubzu works is I now look at it as a place for supplemental deals. You know, most times I'm going to tell you guys, you know, pick one or two sources and master that source first, regardless of what it is, before you start trying to look at other sources, right? What I talked about earlier about going narrow and deep. Now, Hubzu is now kind of an exception to that in the sense that I would use that more as a supplemental source of deals. It's not something I would count on to make deals consistently every single month. Two things. One thing, when you're dealing with Hubzu, you really have to just monitor the inventory. What you'll find is a lot of people, maybe wholesalers or people they make offers, these properties go to contract, and a lot of them don't close. So instead of spending tons of time, you could just set an alarm on your phone every day at 9 o'clock. You know, a lot of those auctions end at 10 o'clock Eastern time. You know, I'm just going to go see and go look, and you'll see properties going, you know, under pending, they're under contract. Then you'll watch them come back. Then it'll happen again. Then it'll come back. And then by the third time, you'll see that they lower the price. And then that's a good time where you try to jump in. Now, as far as this earnest money deposit thing, again, I would not use this as like a main source of deals. So that might not be what you want to hear. It's kind of what it is. And 8 hours to send the earnest money deposit. So one thing I'll say to you is you can, once you get the offer accepted, I would start advertising that deal immediately. Now, that's before they just first you get an email that says, "Hey, your offer's been accepted," right? Your bid's been accepted. So as soon as I get that, I'll start hitting up buyers. Like drop everything, sense of urgency, call the list, call everybody, hit up other wholesalers, blast your list, all that good stuff before you even send back your contact information, right? Then after, a day, maybe 24 hours, they're going to send that to you. I would not send it back the first time because remember, you only have 48 hours to put up that deposit, but that's after you send back the purchase agreement. So if you could do that stalling in the beginning, that's a very good way to go, right? So stall, then they're going to give you that notice like, hey, we're going to cancel your deal if you don't send it back. So boom, then you send it back. Then they send you the purchase agreement. Okay. Do the same thing. Don't send it back as soon as you get it. Stall a little bit. Then they're going to send you another email saying, hey, we're going to cancel your deal. Then you could even wait one more day. Then they'll send you an email. You're past your cutoff, but we're giving you a grace period, right? And so in that way, you kind of buy yourself 4 or 5 days from the jump just to try to see if somebody's interested in your deal. And at that point, you should start getting interest within those good 4 or 5 days. If you don't, you might not have a deal on your hands, right? And then from there, you got to remember the people who are processing this are mostly guys that, they're outsourced, they're working from India. And a lot of times they're just very robotic in nature. So they just so the most you can do is kind of try to throw them off by asking them questions or stuff like that. You can say, I went by just to do a final walkthrough of the property, but the lockbox code wasn't working. My realtor said he's reaching out to Hubzu. Like, what do you recommend? Anything like that, because it's not because they're going to stall for you, but usually they're going to take the time to go back to their manager or their person in charge to try to get an answer or response. You do the same thing, asking them about like wiring, or you can ask them, say, hey, I want to use my own title company. Is that cool? Which you should be doing. So, but again, if you just ask, sometimes you can buy time that way. Again, it's not 100%. There are times where you're going to have guys that are just so strict and focused on what they're supposed to be doing that they're going to say, nope, your deal's canceled, right? Now you're going to have times where, the opposite is true. You might not even ask. The guy might take 2-3 days to get back to you. So part of it is just it's kind of volume, but again, you can't shoot out like hundreds of offers like you used to. But it's a toss up. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So the main things that you want to be just kind of smart about your offers. Kind of the more complicated way would be try to get buyers or people in there beforehand, or you go beforehand to kind of know what the property looks like and start, sending out feelers. But again, you got to wait till you have at least the offer accepted to really know that you'll be able to do something with that. So hopefully it helps. It's not a perfect answer, but again, it's not the best source of deals anymore. All right, so let's check in with some of these comments. I know we got them a little bit all over the place. Okay, what is the proper way to ask the seller for the lockbox, and when do you ask them for it? So typically you're going to wait until you get the property under contract. And then the way you have to, so I talk about a lot about framing, there's always going to be this battle of framing and like seller dynamics. Who's the buyer? Who's the seller? Who's holding the power? And a lot of times, same with negotiation, whoever cares more is typically the one with least amount of power. So if a seller's super, super motivated and you're like, hey, I'm ready to close, but I need this, you have a little bit more purchasing power. If you go into this with this mindset and this mentality of, I got to get my first deal, I need it, like it has to happen, it's going to make you desperate. You're going to come across that way. It's going to be try hard. And even, not everybody maybe vibes with this, but I honestly believe even on an energetic level, law of attraction, whatever you want to call it, you're just putting way too much importance into this stuff. And it's not going to work out. And that also means you're cultivating a scarcity mindset. You probably don't have enough offers. Yeah, if you any one deal, you're highly mistaken, right? You just can't, right? So back to the question, you want to have that frame from the beginning. And then you also want to get in the habit of asking things expectantly. That's so important because from the time we're children, on a subconscious level, the majority of society is trained to, even our school, our freaking education, it trains us to defer to authority. And we're taught to, and they're different, how much, you guys know these statistics, how much of human communication is verbal? It's like 7%. A lot of it comes through the way you speak, your voice, your tonality. If you're in person, eye contact, body language, all these different things. And that's how you demonstrate yourself as a person of, let's say, trustworthiness, high value, higher caliber people and stuff like that. So when you ask for something, right, for example, a lot of times students, when they ask, they're very hesitant to ask a seller, what is the least you will accept for the property? And a lot of times they try to beat around the bush. Well, you know, what are you kind of looking for? And then the seller says, will you make me an offer? And then you're just stuck. We talked about this last time, right? So one thing I say is you gotta ask expectantly. You expect someone to give you an answer. It's very direct. It's very firm. It's very no bullshit, right? So a lot of times when you ask for the lockbox, it's simply, hey, what's the lockbox on this? And a lot of times you can kind of it can almost be a part of the previous conversation. Okay, this looks so great. What's the lockbox? Boom, and then shut up. You know, you don't need to give all this explanation and all that stuff. And then again, understand, guys, everything I say, nothing's 100%. No matter how firm and you are, some people are just gonna say, I can't give it to you, or I won't do it, or whatever. And that, you know, that's cool. A lot of times, even and that's a lot of lockbox stuff, is a lot of listed properties, stuff like that. There are times where if you're dealing with a direct seller, sometimes they do have a lockbox on, sometimes they don't. I'll ask them, I say, hey, would you mind if I put a lockbox on there? I would just want to get my partner in there, or my guy in there, or my GC in there. Is that okay with you? But again, I ask in a very firm, direct way. And a lot of times, not always, but a good amount of times, they will allow me to put a lockbox. And you just go to Home Depot, grab a box, 20, 30 bucks, and then you can you get the key from them. You can just put it in there, and then you can give the lockbox to buyers as they come to view the property. Again, make sure you guys are screening buyers. So if someone calls me and they say, hey, you know, they need a lockbox for one of my properties, I don't just give it to them. I try to have a conversation, because I'm always trying to cultivate that relationship with buyers anyway. Like I said, it's a relationship building business, and I get nosy. I get personal. How much money do you have? How are you paying for this? Using hard money, or you know, do you have money in the bank? How many properties do you own? Stuff like that. Because I don't want people wasting my time. I don't want any liability issues with someone's house. Again, and I'm talking more like vacant properties that like distressed. I'm not gonna send people into like someone's home or something like that. And then the other thing with lock boxes is sometimes, you know, it can be an issue, and it can be, I've lost deals by not being able to show them. I mean, it just happens. It sucks. But again, that's why we have to always be filling up that pipeline. And then sometimes it really helps to also have a licensed realtor on your team. You can have an actual team, or just like people in your crew, people in your circle. So that's one advantage as business. If you choose to be licensed, you'll have more access to lockbox, especially as people are using like Supra, which are electronic lockboxes. So again, there's advantages and disadvantages to a lot of things. If you're doing this business license, that's a huge advantage. If you're doing this business license, there might be some more liability. You can get in trouble for some more things. So I'm personally not licensed, but I have very good realtors. So you can do that, cultivate a relationship with realtors. Say, hey, I'm getting into investing. I got a lot of buyers. You know, if you can get me in some properties or show some properties for me, I don't pay commission, but I'd be happy to. And then, because you can explain to them what you're doing, right? You're not relisting because, you know, you're wholesaling it. But then you can just hit them up. They show the property for you. You could break them off a little something on the side. You can even offer split deals if you want to. I mean, sometimes I'm very much of the mindset 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing. So that's why I'm open to doing a lot of JV deals and stuff like that. I'm also personally of the mindset that a fast nickel beats a slow dime any day of the week. So typically when I sell my deals, as soon as I get an offer, I'm ready to go. I'm not going to, you know, wait. Typically, unless I know it's a real steal. So hopefully that answers your problem, your question. With the problem 50-50 split, how does that work? And do you use less to motivate sellers? Last, do we find our own title company, or we give us some you recommend? Okay, a couple things in here. Title company is an easy one. I use Independence Title. Those are my people. They're out in Fort Lauderdale on Prospect Road. Great guys, man. Not only do I speak the world of them as a title company, they've saved me from, you know, some potentially bad deals where even when they did courtesy closes on my behalf, meaning I had to work with a seller title company, always have them just look over the paperwork. And whereas the seller, you know, they have the seller's best interest at heart, they always try to push it forward. Yeah, we're good to go. They've caught things where I could have been in trouble. Also, just Kevin, the owner, I mean, this dude, great guy. Philanthropies, you know, as a father, tons of awards. There's a lot of service in the community, and they're good, just people. So Independent Title, just because, you know, I want to know, I'm looking out. I love them. I speak highly of them. They do deals all in Florida. They're actually the first title company in Florida, at least as of now, that's authorized to do remote notary. So I haven't done that yet because I'm not too far from them. but I guess it's over like a Skype session where you can show your ID and do all that stuff, which is much better than having to get it and FedEx it back and all that stuff. So that is pretty cool. About the 50-50 split, I'm assuming you're just talking about JV stuff. So yeah, I got a video on that. Just check the JV video. If you go to my website, wholesalingwithmike.com, you will find under the free resources, I have a JV contract. It's got more details on it. It shows you how it works and it tells you how to fill it out. So that's pretty simple. Do I use a list of motivated sellers, I'm assuming? Yeah, a couple different lists. I like probate lists. I like eviction and absentee owners who have just evicted a tenant. I got a video in that same webinar, or a piece of the same webinar I was telling you guys about earlier, that talks about especially about qualifying your list. Let me tell you, I spoke to someone today a little bit earlier, might be on a call. Damien, if you're there, shout out. Good call today, man. But basically, it was finding the balance of where you are. I always tell people, especially new people, you're either going to spend time or you're going to spend money, especially when you first get started, right? So one option is, let's say you buy a list. Let's say you buy a list, an absentee owner list, right? If you get a lot of money, you don't want to waste time. You can just take 10 grand, whatever it is, and just spend it, shoot it all out, knowing that some of those things are not going to be deals, right? When I first got started, I didn't have money to do like that, right? So I used to buy these lists, right? And I would go through line by line. I'm talking line, like lists of like 1,000, maybe more really. And I would copy the address. I would paste it into Zillow. I would look at it, make sure it's a single family house. I'd make sure the value was, you know, what was selling, because I did my target market research, and I'd make sure the value was between, you know, like 50,000 and 200,000, which is kind of what I was looking for my buyers, and different criteria, right? Different levels of criteria. And it would take me a really long time, but then my expenditure on when I was sending direct mail was very, very low, and my conversion rates were a lot higher. So conversion rate in an industry that were direct mail, maybe like 2%, I was hitting conversion rates like 17, 20%, something like that. So nowadays I found a balance, right? Where it's more like I'm in the middle, right? So I don't send everything because I don't want condos and apartments and stuff like that. But I'm not going to sit in front of my computer and do all that stuff now. So now I have a VA, and basically I buy the list, I send it to her, and I've trained her on all my criteria and stuff. So now she does the stuff I used to do. So now I spend money on the VA, but I don't spend time. So yeah, I like, so that's, I was getting at, I do the eviction list with absentee owners, and that's part of the going through the list, is actually having to physically pull those out. So yeah, that's that. Pierre just said independent title. I've met the dudes at independent title at some of our RIA meetings. They seem like awesome guys. They seem like really, really cool dudes. It's a different company, so the names just sound very similar. I have not dealt with them personally, so I can't give you guys a review there. They seem like really cool dudes. But my title company is Independence Title. And they're both in Fort Lauderdale, so just FYI. Hey, Mike, how do I find motivated sellers? Go to needmotivatedsellers.com. My free ebook is there. Give you 41 ways to find motivated sellers. Some methods are free, some are paid, and it kind of walks you through where you should start. But more importantly, it's not just, but there's some stuff in there that tells you how to go about attacking those sources. Those first 13 pages are critical in that book, so definitely go check that out. Let's see who else. All right, let's see. Do I use ReaderFax? Yes, I do. When I first started, I was using FreedomSoft. I think ReaderFax is a CRM, guys. It's only for Florida, so if you're not in Florida, don't use it. But there, it just, so much data is actually pulled into the system. So something like ListSource, which I also used to use, you don't need that anymore, because you can pull those lists from inside RealFax. It shows you equity. Now, of course, it's an imperfect system. It's based on, you know, algorithms and probability, and it doesn't account for, you know, certain things that can happen, but it's actually very good, you know, for estimates of how much equity properties have. And then one of the other great things is, as far as like pulling those MLS leads, whereas previously I would, let's say, find a property somewhere online, I'd have to go, you know, Google search and go through IDX and try to find out who the listing agent was, and I'd Google and try to find their email address to hit them up and send them a contract. RealFax pulls all that shit in there for you automatically. So, you know, you just check the property and it pulls all that system, and then you can send you know, 10, 20, 30 contracts with one click of a button. You know, you get your template set up and then you can do it literally like 30 contracts in like a minute. And then most importantly, which is what a lot of you guys, a lot of my new students are missing, is the follow-up system, man. If you're just trying to do this on your own, meaning without a CRM, you absolutely can. And I don't try to rush anybody into getting a CRM, right? But, you know, because people always like, oh, you could do this with no money, right? You can do deals with no money. Like this, you can do deals with no money, but you cannot run a business without any money. So I always say, like, you could run a restaurant, for example, without a fancy cashier system, like a POS system. You could just take the orders on a paper ticket, right? But if you want to expand and franchise your restaurant, it might make sense at some point to get the fancy touch screen or, you know, the shit like McDonald's has or whatever. So again, back to if you're using RealFax, or some CRM, it keeps you organized. You can set reminders to follow up. You can even set emails and stuff like that to follow up before you even make the offer. That way you're always following up and it's in front of you. If not, if you guys are not at that point yet, it's cool. But one thing that's very, very important is that you got to stay organized in this business. So whether it's like an Excel spreadsheet or something, you got to stay organized and make sure that you're going back and doing all of your follow-up sources. All right, let's see what else we got. How often should you go to the courthouse for lists? Guys, this all depends on you. You know, a lot of what I do is about lifestyle. So there's a lot of stuff, I'm sure, like I leave money on I shot a video the other day saying I very rarely do a lot of skip tracing. This is not worth my time. So if you're in Palm Beach County, that's cool, man. If you're getting these lists, they have weekly lists. You could absolutely go and get weekly lists. I personally do my mailings monthly, but it's up to you. How much time do you want to put into this? How much money do you have available for marketing to put all that stuff out there? So again, that's really completely up to you. Just the most important thing is follow up. If you're buying a list every week and sending to a different list every week one time, it's a waste of your time and it's a waste of your money. You got to be hitting these lists. You know, this is direct mail marketing 101. You got to be touching customers 6-7 times at least. All right, is it better fixing, flipping, and doing wholesale, less stress and dealing with this? Again, this is personal choice, guys. So here's the thing. I don't do, or not, it's not that I don't do rehabs, but I love wholesaling. Wholesaling absolutely has my heart. There's another guy you guys might not know down here, Jim Van Dyke. Great guy, another really big wholesaler in our area. He started off trying to be a rehabber. And basically he was, that was his goal, right? When he first got started in real estate. And then basically he was getting deals from wholesalers and he realized, like, I'm putting up all the money. I'm dealing with all the work. I'm doing all the stuff. And these guys are making, you know, money like this without putting up any of the risk. So this goes back to just personal preference. And also what I said earlier, I'm more about the fast nickel over a slow dime. And I also like to minimize my risk. And I also like to live a certain type of lifestyle. So when have done rehabs in the past, I had money into the deal. If something happened to the house, let's say we put all those brand new, shiny, beautiful stainless steel appliances in, somebody came and stole it, that's my ass. I had to go visit the property often. I had to deal with crew, had to deal with workers, had to manage people not showing up, all this stuff. I mean, granted, you don't have to be there all the time, but especially if you're just getting started, a lot of times you're going to be on site. Again, if something happens, it's you, it's all on you, all your money's in that deal, stuff like that. I don't really like that. But again, you know, you can make a good profit on those houses. Some people might want to put all that in there to make $50,000, $100,000 profit. I'd rather do, you know, 20 deals for 5 or 10,000 where I don't have any money in the deal. I don't have any skin in the game. If it cancels, it cancels. I could give a shit less. If I want to go travel and go kick it in New York for a week, if I want to go to South Beach for a week, if I want to go to Vegas for a month, I can do whatever I want. So that's just me. Like I can't say which one is better. It depends on what you want for your life, right? Mike, I bought a cash buyers list from you. I didn't get contact information. I just got home addresses. Okay, so again, go back to my YouTube channel, watch the last video I did on the cash buyers list. I show you exactly how I do it, guys. This method works. A lot of times when you get, let's say, email addresses or phone numbers, a lot of times that might be people self-selecting into a program. They could be tire kickers. You don't know. They could be legit, but a lot of times, in my experience, those are not the best buyers that I've built my list with. When the information I gave you that you get comes from public record. When somebody buys a house, this is what gets recorded when the deed gets recorded. So that's an address that is legitimate. These are, you know, where the tax stuff goes, where the deeds and mortgage document goes. And so I hit those guys up and you make contact with them by direct mail. And then it also filters your list for quality, because these guys are now hitting you up. They're taking an active role. So again, I won't go into all that because I got a whole video on it. So just go back to my YouTube channel and watch that video on cash buyers. It's a screen recording over the shoulder style. You'll see exactly how I am doing getting those buyers. What's the main lead gen source for houses? I do mailers and they aren't high volume. I'll tell you this, there is a certain randomness to this game. It's kind of like saying, yeah, what's the best place to meet a wife? I mean, there's a couple different things. You might meet her, you know, in the club, you might meet her in the library, you might meet her, you know, I can't really tell you what is the best. But my point here, and I've been making for a while, is not so much, it is that there is a randomness to the game. More important than any one lead source is committing to one lead source and then making sure that you consistently hit that lead source and follow up and just kill that shit until you get your, you know, desired results. Part of it, you got to look at your personal situation. How much time you have, how much money do you have, you know, what, how much time can you put into your business, things like that, how much you like being on the phone, stuff like that. So that's a big part of it. If you let me know a little bit more about your situation and then do your market research, I can probably give you some things. Again, like I said, one part that I talked about before was like qualifying these lists. So if you're looking at a lead generation source, let's say someone who's motivated, we know there's certain things that motivate people. So inherited properties, for example, is a great source. I like that a lot. Some people just do absentee owners. So look what I do here. One of my highest converting lists, I do absentee owners that have evicted a tenant and then also with equity. That takes time because I'm looking at information from, you know, going through these evictions and then looking at the owner information to make sure that they're out of state, and then cross-referencing that with the lists that I pull out of RealFacts to make sure there's equity. Now, again, I'm not doing that. I'm having my VA do it, so it takes some time. But again, when you can put in multiple levels of you know, that qualification, it will boost your conversion rate. So hopefully that shines some light on there as well. Do I run Facebook ads? I do not. That's something I'm going to start. And when I have some of you guys, I'm feel confident about it. Been talking to some people who are doing it, but I know that I have to throw, for Facebook ads to work on this level, and I want it to be scalable, I know that I want to throw a lot of money at it to figure out what works, and then I can then break it down to know like those KPIs, like what works, you know, and what works not only one time or two times, but works that I can replicate and have predictable success with. So, you know, I haven't been doing it to with that degree, with that success or anything like that, so I can't tell you, but when I do, you guys will be the first to know. Working on a no equity deal and owner is 3 months in arrears. Advise please on how to structure. It really depends. I probably need more details on that. It might be a deal, it might not. So a lot of times it depends. If it's something like, if they don't have equity and they're falling behind, it sounds like that's most likely going to be a short sale. But with short sales, you know, these can be great sources of deals. Understand there's going to be a couple more obstacles there. Short sales typically take a long time to process. It could be weeks, but, you know, it might be a couple of months. And then also not everyone qualifies for a short sale. When you're doing a short sale, that they have to prove financial hardship. So that's, you know, that's another piece. And then when you're actually flipping it, there are other things like there might be deed restrictions and stuff like that where you have to get around, but there are different strategies. If you're in Florida, for example, I always put it in a land trust. Some people say in a land trust. I've done it. So you're wrong. All right. So let's switch over to some of the other channels. All right. So what should I look for when choosing a target area? I like that. Check my YouTube channel. I got another video on that. I don't even remember what it's called, but I know I got one. But a lot of it is just market research. Make sure there's demand. So one thing, if you're driving through a neighborhood, you see a lot of bandit signs, wholesalers, I'll buy your house. We buy houses. Some people are like, oh, I don't want to work there. Other wholesalers are working there. It's competition. That's one way to look at it. But another way of looking at it is also, hey, somebody's doing it here. It means, you know, it's working. They're people. Then what you want to do, go to Google, man. Google's a great, so you'd be surprised at some of the shit I found on Google. Some of it, like, it's amazing. Like, people put personal stuff on there. But anyway, you can go to Google and just, you can look at even stuff like Zillow and Trulia. You can look at heat maps and see how many sales. You can look at the price points. Then you want to Google for wholesalers in your area. Get on all of their buyers lists. See how frequently they're putting out inventory. Monitor the list. See week over week, is the same inventory coming back? Is it selling? Call them. most people probably won't want to talk to you. Like, go fuck yourself, man. I don't care. But stop being, too many people. You guys get rejected a couple times. You're ready to quit. Just keep calling, keep calling, keep calling. Be a pain in the ass. That's how you get people to pay attention to you. Over time, they're either going to respect you or they're going to know you're not going to stop calling. But then, you can figure out information like that. And then the video I use those cash buyer lists. I plug them into a site called Mapalist. If you guys want to see the whole process, just go to my website, cashbuyersdirect.com. Then you get sent the free PDF book that I put out there. There's a lot of good information there. It shows you how to make a heat map. So you find out not only is there demand, but you find out the demand for people who are paying cash, right? Which means they're most likely investors. And then you see heat map. You'll see where those pockets are, where there's the most demand. And then you'll also see what those price points are. And no matter of fact, I got 2 videos too on the YouTube channel. How to pick a target market. Go watch both of them. I show you exactly how I do it. So those are just a couple ways. And then, it helps if you're like in a major area. I used to live in South Dakota. There was times where I was living with a neighbor was how far away? I don't know, like a couple miles away, right? So that's not going to be a good place. Even if you could do one deal, that's not a scalable business. And then if you are living in like somewhere like a South Dakota, very, very rural area, you maybe either want to get up and move. You don't have to be tied to where you were born. I think it's like 80% of people still live within like 10% of where they were born or grow up or something like that. Go where opportunity is, man. I highly encourage that. And number 2, if you want, virtual wholesaling works. There's some options that won't be available to you. Like, you're not going to be out dropping bandit signs personally. But now they have actually, with technology, you could do like Simple Crew or something and have people drop it for you and then see the proof that comes in on the app on your phone. And then when you're doing virtual wholesaling, I recommend getting with a wholesaler who's already in that area, coming up with some kind of partnership. Be creative, guys. I'll spend the marketing dollars. I'll do the direct mail. When I get something under contract, can you sell it? Stuff like that. If I need you to go out, I'm willing to put up the money, or not even money. I'm willing to put up the time. Sell yourself, right? If I can do this for you, again, put it in that person's best interest. Can you send it to your buyers? Can we do some JV stuff? If I need you to go out to a property, I get under contract. Can you go take pictures from me and send it to me so I can send it to my buyers list? Stuff like that. So think outside the box a little bit, but definitely check out those videos. All right, let's go back to next channel. Sorry, trying to keep up with everybody. Do I have a mentoring program? I do. I'm going to be opening up spots. Well, I'm opening spots now. I'll post a link actually here. What I do is I just redirect it to a waiting list. But for now, if you guys want to get in, www.wholesalingwithmike.info. It's different from my .com site, but you can check that out. It shows you how the program works. There are a couple of different options and then everything that's included. All right, let's see. I've been lost about direction things. I need your help. Cool. I'm glad I'm here to help. Ask me a question. Let me know. No money, or say 20K, you just get a lender who has the money, show them the address, you talk to the listing agent. I need you to clarify. I'm not really understanding that question. But I think where you're asking, if you don't have the money to pay for it, I got a video on transactional funding. Again, guys, you don't need money to wholesale. If you have money, it's going to help. If you can buy a property and hold on to it, absolutely, for sure, do it. It's going to help you. If you have money, you could put up big earnest money deposits. It's only going to help you, right? But I'm saying you don't need it. It's basically like a video games. I'm a video game nerd. I might lose you guys here. But I remember like back in the day, I used to have Zelda on like Super Nintendo. I don't play as much as I'd like to. But when you start off with like the wooden sword. Yeah, you work with what you have. And as you gain, your rupees or whatever it is, you can buy better equipment, and that just gives you more inventory. So it's the same deal, man. Like, don't focus on the deals that you can't do or the stuff that's going to be hard for you to do. Focus on what you got. Focus on your resources. Damon John, the power broke. If you ain't got money, that you're going to focus on the no money down deals, and then you're going to get money, and that's just going to open up however more avenues and strategies are available to you to do more and more deals. Did you go to 10X Growth Con for your wholesaling business? Yeah, I would say so. I went there for a lot of reasons. I went there for networking. I went there to catch up with some people. I saw my homie Pat on the stream not too long ago. I had to go catch up with this guy. And I'm also learning. A lot of times you don't know what you don't know. And so I got a lot of stuff. I thought there were things that were not even relevant to my business to came to find out. I found out stuff about health, mindset, attitude, the people that you're around, just energy, all these different things. I like learning very tangible things, but also just being around a certain mindset and networking. I got some good contacts and stuff like that. So I went for a variety of reasons, and I really highly recommend that you all attend that. And if not, go check out like the live stream. There's a lot of really good information there. All right, Gamer Cat. This is like a paragraph here. I'm gonna scan it very quickly. It's not a question. I'm gonna have to hit you up maybe like after the fact or something like that. Or this is a lot. I don't want to take up too much time in live. Message me on like Facebook or something. Shoot me a DM or whatever you call it. Am I open to explore other areas of Florida? So I'm open to explore other areas of Florida, right? I've done deals way up north. I've done deals in Jacksonville. I've done deals in Tampa, West, all that stuff. I've done deals in places I don't even know where they are. I've never seen the property. I haven't even heard of some of these towns. What I always say is if there's a deal, I do believe, I subscribe to the idea like, yo, if it's a real deal, you'll find buyers. And I'm also connected with other wholesalers. So sometimes I don't like doing splits where there's too many people involved. But, if I get to bring another wholesaler who has a buyer, very much, fast nickel over slow dime and percentage of something over percentage of nothing. So I will. I do deals all over Florida. So a lot of times I just say, if it looks like a deal, let me put it out to my buyers and we'll see. Like most of my buyers, if you guys, are interested, are Southeast Florida, man. So St. Lucie County, Palm Beach County, Broward, and Dade. That's going to be the bread and butter. That's where, thousands and thousands, like 10,000 people have come to me and said they want deals there. Now, are there people on the outskirts and around in Destin? I don't even know where that is, but let's find out. I'll find out with you, right? So we can throw it out there. Let's see. Okay. More stuff. Gamer Cat, I said to shoot me a message on Facebook because this looks really long. Let's see. I didn't see a question. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah. All right. Sorry, let me scroll back up here and see. Target area. Did that one. All right, let's see what we got here. Targeting is a big key for ads on Facebook. Digital marketing targeting is big. Yeah, absolutely agree. Work with you on wholesaling deals. If you have deals, you can send them to me. I'll definitely check them out. So basically my thing is like this. Look, if you have deals and you have it under direct contract, I mean, you control it and it makes sense, I'd be happy to put it out to my buyers and sell it for you. That's cool. We can JV 50-50. I'll put it in writing so you're nice and comfortable. If you need my help doing deals and you need me to actually be there and tell you what to do and tell you what to say, I take a great deal of time and energy writing those emails and reviewing and looking over contracts, stuff like that. So you got to be a part of my mentoring program. I am opening it now, so it's going to be open enrollment. So if you want, go to my website. You can find more information about that. Again, like I said, I spent a lot of time doing that, so those seats truly are limited. What signs do you study to determine if the market is booming or not? Again, I just kind of talked on that. Go check out my videos, 2 videos on there on finding your target market. And that's probably, I really try not to get too overly complicated with this stuff, man. That's just not me. It's not my style. I try to keep it pretty simple and easy. Like I'm in Florida. There's a lot of people that come to Florida. There's a lot of people that come to Miami. So I just know it's I know I do deals there, but if you want the more tangible stuff, go check out those videos. My website is www.wholesalingwithmike.com. By the way, guys, and I do have some more questions from the email, but just to reiterate, I will be here every day with you, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. If you guys want to send me your questions in advance, make sure I get to them. Hit me up at mike@wholesalingwithmike.com, and I'll be happy to answer those for you. All right, next, if anyone has anything right now. I had a question on, actually people are sending me some of their deals to look at. And before even getting into all that, they're sending me questions and asking me like, hey, what about if this property has liens, what if the taxes, or this property has these violations, what do you think, blah, blah, blah. A lot of this stuff is speculation. Like, stop speculating before you have the property under contract. You can do all this research, all this, speculating and figure out. You can go pay for a lien search, which I highly, highly do not recommend. Doesn't make any sense. Just to waste your money. And then the seller might not even want to sell, right? So if you're doing either anything comps, ARV, anything like that, those are secondary. If you're dealing with a direct seller, you need to be finding out, why does that seller want to sell? How much is their mortgage balance? What's the lease they're going to take? Because you might do ARV and say, okay, the ARV is 60,000, so I'm going to offer 60. They might be willing to take 40,000, 50,000. Now you just screwed yourself out of $10,000 and you wasted a lot of extra time doing it. So yeah, definitely don't do that. The other thing though, a lot of these liens, taxes, violations, guys, a lot of this stuff can be dealt with when you're actually at the closing, at the title company. Again, you don't want to be worrying about this and spend all your time doing this before you find a buyer. It's a waste of time. You want to be focused on filling up your pipeline. Now, a lot of this stuff, I put protections, my students put protections in their contracts to, for any type of worries or stuff like that. So you have exit clauses and things like that. So in this case, the main thing you're going to write in your contract should be a spot for additional terms, or you can attach an addendum. It says property to be free and clear of all liens, violations, permits. And then your inspection contingency. That'll handle like most of these things. Then what happens is, if during the process, the title search, you find a buyer, you go to contract, during the title search, that's when those things will come up. Well, at that point, then you can go back and you can renegotiate the deal. A lot of times the seller just it gets paid out of their proceeds. So this is another question I actually got today, where they were asking, I forget the specific case, but basically was saying like, how does it work if the seller has liens or something like that? Well, let's say the property, you're buying it for $100,000, right? And let's say the seller still owes $50,000 on the mortgage, and then they do the lien search and it comes up to have a $2,000 unpaid water bill. That's fine. At closing, you're gonna send $100,000 to the title company. The title company is gonna take that 100. They're gonna take 50,000. They're gonna pay the bank. They're gonna pay the lender. They're gonna take 2,000. They're gonna pay the water bill, the utility bill, and then they're gonna give the seller the 48,000. So again, you worrying yourself about something that really doesn't impact you at all. If it's stuff like violations, that's great, because that can give you an opportunity to renegotiate the price down. And you have two options. Number one, you can have the seller take care of it, or you can say to the seller, you know what, I'll take care of it. I'll work it out. Let's say you have there was a fine you got for vacant, your yard was vacant and the grass was growing real high. So they charge you $20, $200 a day, right? But that's been accruing for the last 3 years. So now you owe the city some crazy ass amount of money, like I don't know, like $100,000. You say, you know what? Don't worry about it. I'll take it with that lien or with those violations or whatever. I'll handle it. But I'm taking on $100,000 worth of debt or fines or whatever, right? And so I'm gonna need you to knock off the price like $20,000. And maybe they'll say yes, maybe they'll say no, maybe you can negotiate. And then what you do is you go back to the city and you say, look, I'm buying this property. It was vacant. It's bringing down the property value and stuff. I wasn't there. It wasn't my fault, but I'll clear this because I'm trying to buy the property. And usually they let you do it for like maybe like 1%, 5%, whatever it is. So now you got a $20,000 price reduction from the seller. Then you paid it off for like $1,000 or whatever. You just made yourself an extra $15,000, $19,000 or whatever it ends up being. So that's just, another thing that you can do. But if you stopped yourself in the beginning, wow, this has violations and stuff. I don't know if I want to move with the deal, or blah, 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 all this kind of shit. You just stepping on your own toes, stepping on your own feet. Also, as far as, looking up these liens and stuff like that, guys, do that. Don't worry about that stuff beforehand. I had a student used to send me deals like this. I told her, I said, this is kind of like, let's say I don't know if she's married or not, but Renee, it might have been you actually. I don't remember. But I basically said, look, imagine you are a single lady, you're looking to get married, of thousands of men that you all find equally attractive, and you look at one and you're like, I wonder how much that guy makes. I wonder if that guy can have babies. Let me see if that guy has a felony record. Let me look him up online. Let me check it. So, and you looking up all this shit about one dude. that guy might not even be interested. And meanwhile, all these eligible bachelors are walking right past you. So again, don't be putting all of this importance and stuff where you don't even know if you got a deal on your hands. Okay. Does anyone have any questions right here? Gamercat, email me, mike@wholesalingwithmike.com if you don't have Facebook. I also highly recommend you get on Facebook. I was very anti-social media, but it's amazing how many people you can connect with and all the benefits that it has. And to a degree, I'm pretty new to it still, but I would highly recommend you get on there. So yeah, email me, mike@wholesalingwithmike.com. All right, I'm going to pull up my email and see if there's any questions that are not specific to any like one situation. I'll answer those real quick. And if not, I wish you all a good night, and definitely be here tomorrow. I'll be happy to answer the rest of your wholesaling questions. Anything else I want to mention before I go? Also, like I said, those terms you can put in your contracts. I do have a PDF guide on there where I show you all the stuff that I'm using in my contracts. You can just go to my website again, wholesalingmike.com. It's called Ironclad Contract Clauses. It'll tell you the contract clauses. You can just copy and paste and put them in your contracts, and then when and why you would want to do that. What do I think about wholesaling virtually? I think it's great personally, but I think it depends on you want or what you want to do. Some people like putting out bandit signs. Some people don't like being on the phone. Some people, it really depends on your personal situation. It definitely works, but one thing is that it can help you break into markets that are otherwise inaccessible to you. I have people who live in like Alabama or stuff. They've done deals with me here in Florida. You guys have seen if you were on the last webinar, we looked at Jeff's deal. Jeff's living in Grenada. I mean, I don't know about doing deals in Grenada, but he followed everything I gave him. I was the boots here on the ground because I'm established here, so it helps you're established. And then we did the deal here. I kind of took care of everything, sold it, and then he got a check again with somewhere he has never been to. What days and times are you live? I'm going to be here every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Do I have contracts? I do have contracts. Depends on what you want. Some of them are available on my website for free at wholesalingwithmike.com. Some are in my mentoring program. There's a link to my mentoring program on my website. If you want the direct link, it's www.wholesalingwithmike.info. So easy to remember. And then there are additional contracts and stuff that's a little bit more sophisticated in my actual mentoring program. Yeah, the assignment contract you can get for free on my website. That is there. Also, when you're on my website, look at a blog post about contracts. You guys should be aware if you are using the state approved, board of realtor approved contracts. That's what I recommend. Those are written up the best, where the responsibilities and expectations for all parties are very clearly spelled out. You need to go to court, litigate, any type of confusion, everything's all there. And then as far as, it's just more legitimate. And then as far as dealing with like MLS listed properties and stuff like that, you have to use those contracts anyway. The thing with those they are copyright protected, so you have to be a licensed realtor to technically use those. Now, if you think about it this way, you're basically filling out all that information on behalf of the listing agent. So you're doing it anyway. So you're actually helping them out. So a lot of times you can just do it and you won't get called out on it anyway if you're not licensed. But you do need to be aware that would technically be illegal. So again, this is back to your level of comfort with these things. In Florida, we have a service called All You Can Pay. It's about $100 a year. And you can use all of those. If you're not licensed, you can legally use all of those contracts, every single purchase agreement, stuff like that, board approved. So again, that's completely at your discretion, but read that blog post just so you're at least aware of what you're doing. Take some time to watch the videos on YouTube and the website. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And yes, you absolutely should. JV deals. I think I just touched on that a minute ago. If you have like a specific question about that. Personally, I'm not wholesaling in Atlanta. I have students in Atlanta, and I do try to encourage my students to work with each other. but I'm not doing deals in Atlanta. I'm only doing deals here in Florida. But again, I have a lot of people that work with me JV. So even my students, the ones that do deals the fastest, and the most, because I essentially have half of the process done for you. I already have my buyers list established and all that good stuff. So you just send me the deal, and then if the numbers make sense, I just get it sold. So half of that's already done for you. So that's why the JV thing is good. Last webinar is the last Q. No, the last a little bit more structured, and that was how to do your first or next deal. Actually, no, that was the one before that. Guys, we're running out of time, but go to needmotivatedSellers.com. That's where you can download the book, and you'll also see the webinar replay. Oh, it's also got a script on there for you. So yeah, we got 4 seconds here. Thank you all for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow. Remember to send me your questions. Again, appreciate y'all being here, and I will talk to you soon. All right, thanks.